welcome to this video. This is going to be a reading with the question, what is required of you to step into your true authentic self? And like you see, we have 3 piles. This is going to be 1, this is number 2, and this is number 3. So tune into the piles and choose the one that is grabbing your attention the most, and take your time choosing. If you want to pause, you can. I'm going to have this rolling for some, like maybe 20 seconds or so. My advice is always, though, like, choose the one that just grabs your attention right away, or is obviously like grabbing, like pulling you more. Sometimes if we give it too much time, our mind gets in the way, and you know how that goes. But you know, it's up to you. So okay, so for those of you who chose pile number 1, so what is required of you to step into the true you, your authentic self? Okay, what is coming through right away is, like, don't let others tell you what happiness is, or what it is supposed to be you, or to feel like yourself, or how it's supposed to look like. The noise of how everything is kind of shown to you, or like projected to you, is kind of getting in the way of you just easily tuning into your tone, your vibrancy, because your vibrancy and the true you is something that no one can tell you or teach you, you know, who is. Like, no one can know how it is to be and feel like you except you. And when you allow yourself to get there, however that may look like, and you know, and what's coming into my mind is like, you know, oh, when you're happy, you're supposed to be laughing and smiling. But what if how you are happy is not necessarily shown in how much you smile or laugh when you're around others necessarily, you know? So there's no one definition of how that's supposed to look like to others, because they will never know how it is within you. And don't wait for other people's kind of response, or like how if you get accepted with however it is that is you, you know, because it, you know, is not how, it's not necessarily how the people in your life want you to be, because, you know, otherwise you would just be you already. If you already had the like the safe space to just be you, like no matter how that is, you know. So there are conditions, sadly, conditions in families, and how kids, you know, mold into their true selves, or if they do, and most often don't, you know, because subconsciously we know that it wouldn't fit into the box that is, you know, comfortable for our parents or caregivers. So some of you are also brought up in religious families, and if not religious families, then like families that have had a lot of rules of right and wrong and good and bad, and women were not necessarily allowed to take a lot of space. The women were kind of meant to serve more, and something that like is so freeing and can be so freeing for you is really acknowledging and getting that there's no right and no wrong and no good and no bad. They're just energies and choices, and as long as we're willing to be aware, be present, and are willing to see what choice creates, and when we're aware and choosing from a state of awareness or willingness to be aware, at least, then you can't go wrong, because you're always just making a choice based on what you are willing to explore, or willing to just like invite in everything that is around you, you know. But if we're going into codependency and we're kind of in functioning from what's the word, coping mechanisms, that's like the opposite of being aware and choosing. Like, so just see that when we're willing to just kind of accept and acknowledge that, okay, people are going to see some things as right and wrong, doesn't necessarily mean that it is. It's just like a concept in the world and in religions, or any kind of way of being and functioning that has these boxes and these rules of what is allowed and what not, and what will happen if you do this and that and all that. That as long as you're willing to accept that, okay, that's how some people and maybe people who are close to you see it, that's just how they see it, that doesn't make you wrong or bad, you know. So as long as you're willing to be strong enough to kind of grasp that and allow them to be in that space, because that's just them being in that space. You don't have to take responsibility for someone not accepting your choices or who you are. That's just sadly where they're at. It doesn't have anything to do with you. You're just triggering that in them. And how freeing is it to not have to take responsibility for that, to not have to take that as your doing. It's their doing to judge like that. Consciousness includes everything. Consciousness is being present, aware, being willing to be aware of everything, and judging nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay, so that's all I have for you, Pile 1. Thank you so much for stopping by. Okay, hello, Pile 2. Those of you who chose Pile 2. So we are playing around with the question, what is required for you to choose according to who you are? What is required of you to step into your most authentic self? Ooh, okay, so you enjoy being mysterious. You have a lot of ancient wisdom, and you kind of enjoy not necessarily kind of sharing a lot of that. So you kind of like, there's a part of you that likes kind of the mystery of it all, but just know that there's a difference between keeping the mystery to yourself and then not actually showing, like, being mysterious to yourself. So you can totally step into who you are and everything that is, and still choose wisely who gets access to you, who gets access to your magic. And you have so much magic. There's so much. I'm getting like past lives in the Arabic kingdoms, like where yeah, you still hold all those. I'm hearing light codes and like seeing just a bunch of like codes, like downloads that you are, even without knowing, emitting out into every single thing. And there's a lot that you don't want to see. And even though you don't want to see it, other people do. So everybody else sees your magic, even though there's like a lot of it that you don't want to see. And there's a part of you, or not there's a part of you, but you just, the reason for why you don't want to see is like you don't know how to receive and process all this power. And I've been there too, and it's like our minds and our ego has such a twisted idea of how it is to allow all that power out. When we allow that power out, even though we perceive it as like too much, it isn't. It's like, it's so easy when we finally allow it. What's difficult and heavy is the resistance to it, is the hiding. So when we come out of hiding, when we just are willing to see it for ourselves, like that's the biggest step, then it becomes easy and light, and you don't care how it's gonna look for for others. And also, like, how it is that when you step into it yourself, you like, your mind wants to play tricks on you that like, oh my god, you're gonna change so much that like it's gonna be so obvious to everybody, you're gonna get too much attention or whatever, you know. But it's more the opposite, you know. When you just step into you and you don't buy into the drama or the lies and the, you know, trying to fit in or whatever, you become like crystallized, and you actually become less obvious to those who you don't want the attention from. So you become really shiny and big to those people who you actually are asking that will see you, that you want to be seen by. And those who are not gonna treat you well, they won't see you anymore, like, thankfully. So I'm like, the key to everything is you being willing to see yourself. And this is not something that is necessarily a linear thing. But what is just the most important thing is just asking, what would it take for me to be willing to see myself? What would it take for me to be willing to see myself? What would it take for me to be willing to see myself? And this is such a beautiful card. What would it take for me to be willing to see myself? And all of a sudden this appeared to me, or just like truly be kind to you. Be kind to this, like to you during this journey. And be willing to not have like expectations about how long it's gonna take or whatever. So ask now into the universe and make a demand to, if you're willing, of course, if you're willing, now is the time to make that demand. Okay, it's time that I stop hiding. No more hiding. Like, I'll do whatever it takes to stop hiding. And you have to be willing to do whatever it takes and be whatever it takes. And to our ego, that sounds really scary. Like, wow, why would I be willing to do whatever it takes? But it's not something that the mind can grasp. But you're gonna have to be willing to not know what that's gonna look like. So if you're willing to do that, now is the time. Make a wish. Because when we put that strong energy of demanding something, the universe can't not align everything to that demand. There's one thing of being like, yeah, okay, universe, I ask this, and if your whole being isn't in that same energy as those words, it's not gonna go very far. But once you reach that moment of like, you know what, this is not gonna go any longer, I'm no longer living for everybody else, it's like it doesn't work anymore. It's like something clicks within you, and then you go into the energy of no more, and then you can make that demand, and you can even like meditate on it for like 15 minutes until your whole body is vibrating with that demand. And once you do that, things start to fall into place. You'll get ideas, you'll get little whispers, you will get hunches, and you're gonna have to follow these hunches. You're gonna have to follow these little ideas, thoughts you get are coming from your spirit guides. Thoughts that are coming out of nowhere, and it's gonna light your being up. Those are ideas coming from your spirit guides, so they're also gonna, or like your spirit, the spirits that hang around you, your team. So like, don't go into your mind, just follow it and see like the shifts. And like, then you're gonna build kind of a new foundation, a new energetic foundation for everything to fall into place. So thank you, pile 2. Those of you who chose pile 2, thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you next time. Hello, pile 3. Those of you who chose pile 3, let's see what I have for you today. So we're playing around with the question, what is required for you to step into your true authentic self? And so you have a connection with earth spirits, whether you know it or not. They are playing with you and around you every single day. Okay, for some of you, like, you have maybe been told when you were younger that you're like weird, or you're talking to the trees or something. And when we are told these things and we get comments that go into our subconscious, and that kind of builds on top of, you know, those comments build on top of each other and create this subconscious, like these subconscious beliefs that, oh, okay, if I hang out too much with animals, if I talk to the gnomes or the trees and whatever spirits, whatever it is that you're drawn to as a child, and you get those comments, it creates these beliefs that, okay, that's not okay for me to be like this or that, which is exactly what makes you not be you when you grow up, or ever, you know. So what would help you a lot is putting your walls and barriers down and creating a practice of that. So depending on how disciplined you are, and like if you'd like to, you know, start doing that, you could, you know, just set like a timer on your phone. Do this at least 3 times a day, when you wake up, in the middle of the day, and then before going to bed, and just making a kind of a like a practice, or, you know, meditation out of it, putting your walls and barriers down and expanding your energy out. With any spirit awareness, spirit capacities, you know, capacities that we've been told that are not okay, or we have just not been willing to have them, or why, you know, whatever the reason, it's very common that we just put a bunch of barriers up, subconscious energetic barriers, to this ability that comes so easily to many of us. So just be willing to put all those barriers down. You can ask them to go down. I have, you know, even a video on this. I'll, you know, put it up there so you can check it out, or in the description below, and choose what, you know, what is very powerful. If you're like, so if you click this video, I'm just assuming that you are, at least some part of you is willing to kind of, you know, get to work on whatever is required to, and you're kind of fed up with just living for others, right? So be willing to just, you know, see, not have expectations. Wow, I'm like tripping over my words. Not have expectations about, oh, what will that mean if I put my barriers down, you know, because that's just kind of keeping them in place. So for those of you who go into fear a little bit right now, it's okay. Just sit with it a bit. You know, when we have put barriers down and we've kind of lived all of our lives with barriers up, and with kind of these points of view about any potency, you know, potency is just, it can be perceived as intense energy. It's like super magical. It's intense if we are not allowing it. If we're not allowing ourselves to receive it, be with it, it can be intense. So, and that for some weird reason creates fear in a lot of people. And for whatever reason you have this fear, just see it and know that it, you know, it isn't yours. It was kind of created out of whatever, you know, programming, whatever weird boxes and rules and realities that are, you know, present on this earth with many people. And know that is, yeah, it doesn't have to do with you. It doesn't have anything to do with you. The only thing it has to do with you is that you were there, okay? And you probably, you know, chose to come in this life and experience that polarity, so that you can fully step into that magic. And so there's a lot of earth spirits now just coming in and being excited for you. Like, how beautiful is that, to have that ability to connect so deeply with the earth spirits. So that is the first step. And you know, I'm excited because, you know, I've been exploring this too, and have had some visitations from some really magical, out of, you know, super out of linearity earth spirits. So I'm excited for you to explore this. But the most important thing right now is your willingness to put those barriers down and practice it. And And if the fear comes up, just be willing to be with it and still put those barriers down, and just be willing to be with the fear and watch it transform into nothing. Be willing to be present with all the justifications and the reasons why you shouldn't open up to this world, and just observe how kind of ridiculous it is. And just when we're willing to be with the ego and not align and like agree with it, it kind of just like molds and I'm seeing like ashes, like it turns into nothing. Okay, so let's see where the tarot cards say 3 of them. Okay, so it's okay. I see that you're gonna go kind of back and forth with this. You're gonna go into okay, this is scary. Okay, no, it's magical. Okay, should I do it? No, it's bad. Or you're gonna go between, and that's okay. It's your journey, but you have this ability, and you're not gonna step fully into who you are as a soul and who you came into this life to be, until you're willing to look at this ability, this gift, and embody it. So be kind to yourself on this journey. It's not a linear one, and be willing to explore, like, explore kind of support. Who can support you on this journey? Don't go into hermit mode. Don't close yourself off. Like, find people, find community who you can talk to about this. And yeah, I hope this contributed to you. Thank you for stopping by. See you next time.